morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 722 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, August 26th. Had to go look at that, 2025. And it's a little grayish here at the Beaver Lodge. We had a little touch of rain yesterday, which was welcome, but still not enough. But gray. So, but hopefully the sun will make a little bit of an appearance today. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast's founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. We're going to talk a little bit more today about the Prime Minister being in Europe, because he had 4 countries on his list, and development on U.S. trade negotiations that has our Minister of Finance on his way to Washington, D.C. today. But before we get into that, how's your mental health doing today, kids and cubs? Mine doing well. I'm a little tired in that was well rested all throughout the weekend and all that kind of stuff, but got home and just, sometimes just changing venue or whatnot. I fell asleep early on the couch again as I was watching Gabriel Diallo play tennis last night. And then one woke up a significant number of hours later. So I basically slept in 2 shifts rather than one long one. And I could probably use the third one, to be totally honest. There's a little extra bass in my voice, and that's a sign that I definitely need a little bit more sleep. But my mood is good, and it's now the 26th, so it's fewer than 6 sleeps until I get cuddles again. And I'm very, 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 very much looking forward to that. So, yes, I am counting the sleeps now. But yes, mental health is good. Let's see who is with us today, kids and cubs. A little quick check through the magic monitor here. We have Kit Elaine, Kit on cover with us, Kit Hyper TW007 saying Bom dia gente. I've been practicing. Let's see who else do we have. We have Kit Saucy with us. We have Kit Jillian. Good morning to you. Good morning, Kit Argosi Acres. Lovely to see you here. Let's see, what else do we have? What else do we have? Not what else, who else, I should say. We have Kit Nona Carol. Hello, dear one. Glad to see you here, as well as the Breens. Hello, kids. Lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Kit Mohan is here, waving hello to the DAMFAM. Hello to you, Mohan and all fam. Kit Tabby G is here saying, hi, everybody. HyperTW07 goes, there's Waldo. I found him. I love it. You guys make me laugh. It's fun. And Kit Frank saying good morning. And I believe that's everyone that I have right now. So, all right, let's get in. Oh, we have a dad joke from Kit Uncover. Why do beavers love mornings? Because it's the best time to daminate the news. World's damnation. All right. Kids and cubs. All right. Let's do we have something? Oh, you know what? There was something I had promised to do yesterday, and because of the noise going around, and I did listen, and fortunately, you guys didn't get to hear it so much. I guess the mics didn't pick it up, but it was, uh, yeah. There was like three different sounds coming from three different directions, and all of them were very loud. So I was having difficulty focusing at the end, but that should not be an issue today. But because I cut the show off early, um, Kit Linda M had asked me if I could announce on the show that the World Para Ice Hockey, the very first Women's World Championships, will be taking place from August 26th, so starting today, to the 31st in Slovakia. All the games will be live streamed on the Paralympics YouTube channel. And Kit Linda M says it's so important to promote our para athletes. I know Canada will make us proud. And I completely agree that it is important. So there we go. I have done it. And there's a link here that's included. And I'm just going to make sure that that is the actual link to the site. No, it says nothing to see here. So, yep, that wasn't right then. No, well, that's why it says it's nothing to see here, because it didn't copy the whole link. That would make sense. There we go. And yep, for some reason it does not like it. So yeah, nothing to see here is what it says. Okay, so yes, the World Para Ice Hockey, very first Women's World Championships. So be sure to tune into that. And yes, we absolutely know for sure that our para athletes will make us proud. And I am sorry for not having mentioned it yesterday. So I put it at the top of my notes today to make sure that I would do it. And promise made, promise kept. All right. And since we're talking about Canadians that make us proud, right? Let's start off with some more good news. Normally do this at the end of the show, but since I put the reminder and I had something else to mention in that category, let's group them together, and then hopefully somewhere along the way I'll find another way to end the show. But Brooke Henderson, a golfer Canadian, had a great achievement over the weekend because the one tour of the stop on the LPGA, the Women's Professional Golf Tour that stops in Canada, the Canadian Open, was taken place in Mississauga this time at the golf club, which was taking place at, that I can't see off the top of my head. I did note it down. I just can't find it in my notes for some reason. It's the first time that this club has been selected to host it. But Brooke Henderson, Canadian, won the Canadian Open on Canadian soil. So she has won on the LPGA Tour 14 times, but winning the CP, it's called the CPKC Women's Open, a second time is on another level for her. Henderson shot a 4 under 67 to pull ahead of Australia's Minjee Lee by a stroke in Sunday's final, round to win the Canadian National Women's Golf Championship. The win ended a drought that spanned more than 2 years, adding extra luster to the title for Henderson. This is according to an article by John Chidley Hill of the Canadian Press. Quote, this one I think might be the longest in between victories, so for that reason it makes it super special, said Henderson. To be able to win the Canadian Open, the CPC, I keep on wanting to say CPC, the CPKC Women's Open for the second time is so special. Henderson also won the Women's Open in 2018 at the Wascana Country Club in Regina. That made her the first Canadian in 45 years since Jocelyne Bourassa of Shawinigan in 1973 to win the national championship. She's now accomplished the feat twice in 7 years. It also added another win to her career that tally already the most by a Canadian professional golfer. Quote, this week is beyond special. To be able to finish it off and hoist the trophy again is extremely cool. It feels super surreal still, said Henderson. When I won in 2018, I woke up Monday morning thinking I still had to play the final round, so I'm wondering if that nightmare will happen again tomorrow. Henderson and Lee finished Saturday's third round tied for first at 11 under, 3 strokes ahead of the field. Between Henderson's popularity in Canada and Lee's star quality, she has 11 LPGA Tour wins in her career, including this year's Women's PGA Championship. The tournament's final pairing had massive crowds following them around the River Valley course. Quote, today was really tough, actually, because there was just so many people, said Lee, who had a 3 under 68 round to move up to second in the LPGA Tour's point list. Quote, I was very mentally strong today, and I just tried to focus on obviously myself and the things that I could do to get the score lower. That's pretty much what I did, what I tried to focus on. I think overall I did a fairly good job. Henderson's last win was the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions in January 2023. She said that although she always put a positive spin on her victory drought, she still had her doubts. Quote, there were some dark times for sure. I feel like my family was so supportive and just said to keep going, just keep working hard, it'll come around, said Henderson, whose sister Brittany Stepanek is her caddy, and her father Dave Henderson is her coach. I've been telling everybody for like a long time, it's close, it's close, it's close. To finally break through again is just so exciting. Those struggles saw Henderson sink to 53rd on the Race to CME Globe points list and 58th in the Rolex Women's World Golf Rankings. She's projected to move up to 26th on the LPGA Tour's point list, putting her in a position to join the world team at the Hanwha Life Plus International Crown in late October and play in the season-ending CME Group Tour Championship in late November. Quote, I'm excited for the rest of the season. I'm excited for what's coming next, said Henderson. I'm super pumped about International Crown, and with this win, I think I'll guarantee my spot into the CME, which was a little bit in jeopardy before this. Charlottetown's Lori Kane, who had 4 LPGA Tour wins in her Canadian Golf Hall of Fame career, was at both of Henderson's Women's Open wins. She said that she hoped Canadians would give the 27-year-old Henderson more recognition for what she's accomplished. Quote, I thought back automatically to 2018 when we'd been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for years, and that was surreal, said Kane, standing greenside as Henderson submitted her scorecard. This is now 14 wins, the first 13 we haven't given this kind of credit for. This kid enough credit for, I should say. I certainly hope that this is something that keeps people talking about how good she is rather than what's wrong. And there was also another story at the tournament. A 15-year-old Canadian named Aphrodite Deng, playing in her first ever professional tournament, was in second place on the leaderboard after the first day. She was tied for 7th going into the last day, 5 strokes off the pace. She had a 2 over round 73 on the last day to finish in a tie for 20th as the tournament's low amateur. So there you go. Not only a veteran and legend in Canadian golf, cementing her place in what will surely be a Hall of Fame career, probably not only just Canadian Hall of Fame career, but maybe LPGA level Hall of Fame. We have a next generation signaling that they're ready to step up. Now, they're still as an amateur, so I'm thinking that they may not have collected the money for the win. I don't know if that's still the rule I know that was the rule at one point on the golf tour. If you wanted to maintain your amateur status, if you did happen to play in a pro tournament, you couldn't take the money. But yeah, 15 years old, 20th place. And her first ever golf tournament, second place after the first round. Absolutely um, just stunning. Um, there's a little bit on her here in an article from CBC, no, Canadian Press as well. 15-year-old Deng was born in Calgary, and her family lived in Montreal before moving to New Jersey for her dad's work. Last month, Deng became the first Canadian golfer to win the U.S. Girls Junior Championship at the Atlanta Athletic Club's Riverside course. Quote, I was able to have good focus and my swing had good tempo, said Iwai. That's why I had so many birdie chances. Um, so, yeah, I think Iwai. Yeah, sorry. That quote was from another player. I'm sorry. Uh, I was looking for more information about her, and I overread. So there you go. And if anybody is wondering here, there's an image of this young lady who is making waves. So let's give her a little profile, a little bit of shadow on her face from the visor. But yeah, lives mostly in Orlando at the moment, but remains a Canadian citizen and plays Canada's junior program. And yeah, I guess this was an opportunity to give her some higher level experience in her development. And boy, did she ever seize that. So yeah, keep your eyes and ears open for Aphrodite Ding, because it's somebody that might be winning a Canadian Open on home soil one day. You never know. With a debut like that, um, people will definitely be asking that question for some years to come. No pressure, no pressure, but that's quite a way to make your presence known. A little bit like Victoria Mboko in a way, right? Okay, and of course, speaking of her, since I mentioned her, unfortunately, she did lose her first round match at the U.S. Open. The wrist that she hurt here in Canada was the wrist of the hand with which she holds her racket. So her serve, unfortunately, wasn't everything that it could be, and her serve is definitely a weapon. And yeah, I think it was like close to about to 20 kilometers an hour difference than what she was hitting when she was playing here in Canada. So Barbara Krejcikova is a two-time Grand Slam champion in singles. I think a 10-time Grand Slam champion in doubles or something like that. And when she's on, she is brutal. And she was on. So Mboko had her hands full, did the best she could. But yeah, definitely will need some more rest for that wrist before she's able to perform like she was here in Canada and so far on the tour. But still, some experience on the big stage at US Open, because that's some of the loudest crowds there are in tennis. And she has that experience under her belt. And we'll see what she does for the rest of the year, whether she takes the rest of the year off or just takes a couple of weeks off and then plays some tournaments late in the year to because she doesn't have that many points to defend. All of this is gravy, so this could be an opportunity to boost her ranking even more. If she could get herself into the top 16 before the Australian Open, that could be a good position to be in come to that Grand Slam tournament. So, and she's already, I think, coming in at 24th or 22nd in the world at the moment. So she's not that far off. So that could definitely be an objective for her. Or, like I said, you can turn around and say that she's done enough this year. She's already played 62 matches this year, and that's a lot. So at that level. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And of course, Gabriel Diallo, who I was talking about earlier when I fell asleep, well, he did win his match in 4 sets. So he moves on to the next round, as does Leila Fernandez, who won yesterday. And today are our two final singles players in the draw. Felix Ogialiasim and then Janis Shapovalov will take to the courts this morning. Hopefully, both of them can get some wins, and then we'll find out what comes next. The doubles draws will then, I'm sure, soon be released, and we'll see where Gabriela Dabrowski sits after her win in Cincinnati with her partner Aaron Routliffe, and see what happens with that. All right, into the actual news today, kids and cubs, as we were talking about, the Prime Minister of Canada is on a mission to Europe with the goal of deepening defense ties, economic ties, um, and ties also specifically in the field of energy, which is some of the reasons that he's in Germany on this trip in particular. But he started in Ukraine. It was a surprise visit to Ukraine for Ukraine Independence Day as a guest at the invitation of President Zelensky. And that was definitely a trip that needed to be kept secret because Kyiv is often the target for attacks. So everything was kept secret, and the prime minister was there, and talked about increasing our defense engagement there, announcing some specifics on the $2.3 billion that was promised at the G7 summit in Kananaskis earlier this year in June. And in the process, also opening the door to the fact that there might be troops on the ground should there be some type of a ceasefire or a peacekeeping force needed at some point. Yeah, so how would I say, definitely a big and an important moment, especially considering the significance of the day. Then he was to continue on to Poland to meet with both the president of Poland, Donald Tusk, or is that the prime minister? Oh my God, I don't remember who's who. They've got both, but both the president and the prime minister of Poland on this trip. And according to Murray Brewster of CBC News, Canada and Poland discussed the shape of a possible post-war peace in Ukraine on Monday as allies continued to hammer out what sort of security guarantees they're prepared to offer. Prime Minister Mark Carney met with his Polish counterpart Donald Tusk in Warsaw, where the two leaders put the finishing touches on an enhanced strategic partnership. It was also an opportunity for the two leaders to compare notes after Carney's weekend trip to Kyiv, where he met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and unveiled more details about Canada's additional commitment to $2 billion in military aid. Unlike Canada, Tusk said Poland is not prepared to offer troops as part of its security guarantees. Quote, I've also confirmed that Poland does not intend to send troops on a mission in Ukraine after the war, Tusk said in translated remarks following his meeting with Carney. But Poland would be responsible for logistics, for organizing help for Ukraine, for protecting also the European, Russian, Belarusian border, because those are also Polish borders. While in Kyiv on Sunday, Carney said he wouldn't rule out a Canadian troop presence in Ukraine, but what that would look like has yet to be determined. The shape and scope of the possible ceasefire haven't been established. That means a peacekeeping force could be anything from an observer group all the way up to a heavily armored battle group. Ukraine has demanded its allies come up with ironclad security guarantees ahead of any potential ceasefire or peace deal with Russia. The idea is to prevent Moscow from resuming its war at some point in the future. The allies may be talking and pledging, but the Kremlin has said it will not agree to any post-war security force underwritten by the United States or any other NATO member. The idea of a so-called coalition of countries willing to guarantee Ukraine's security was first proposed by the French and British. As part of the new package of military assistance unveiled by Canada is a proposal for the joint manufacturing of drones with Ukraine. On Sunday, Carney and Defense Minister David McKenty toured a Ukrainian drone manufacturer. Ukraine, a world leader in small combat drones, just signed a $50 billion deal with the United States and is reportedly getting ready to open manufacturing facilities in Europe. The scope of Canada's arrangement is yet to be defined, McGuinty said. Quote, "Look, that's to be resolved," he told Canadian reporters in Warsaw on Monday. Quote, "What we did do yesterday was agree that both countries would cooperate in the manufacturing of drones." So I guess basically the first high level agreement, okay, yes, we're going to do this. Now what specifically this will look like, we will determine. And they probably bounced around some ideas, but just haven't finalized them to the point that there's anything announceable at this point here. So yes, Poland definitely not willing to make any troop guarantees. I believe, if I had remembered correctly, I heard something yesterday about Poland being involved at the moment in some type of review of its entire military position, uh, given what is to come and what they see coming, and therefore not prepared to do this at this particular time. Doesn't mean that they probably wouldn't be able to do or willing to do it later on if things would persist. But at this moment, they are working on on some, I guess, internal planning and long-term planning issues, and therefore want to keep things as tidy as possible. Mm, we definitely have a lot of dry beaver going on today, kids and cubs. Um, see, there was um, an interview yesterday on Power and Politics with the ambassador of Poland to Canada, Witold Jelski. And there was a portion of it that was very interesting to me because I know that Kids and Cubs have been asking for more information as well about what we're doing to diversify our trade portfolio. And I'm looking to accumulate some of that for you and have a show with that. But this here is he's talking about the Canada-Poland relationship and gets a little bit into trade, and without getting into any specifics, uh, does mention that there's stuff going on between us as well. So let's put that up for you. There we go.
And speaking of our relationship, there was this push today too to make us closer allies, or at least start the process of bringing us closer together, both kind of signing off on this idea of elevating the bilateral relationship to a strategic partnership. What does that mean in practice? How do you envision that playing out?
This is a process that is strengthened by the statement and the declaration and the meetings in Warsaw today, but this is the process that has been going on for a couple of years now, especially since the beginning of the full-scale war. But it brings to the perspective a number of military defense, security topics, but also economy-related as well. Poland in the last 3 decades has been an European tiger, so to speak. We are, as your wonderful ambassador, Catherine Godin in Warsaw said today after the meetings that Poland is number one in terms of growth, number one country in Europe. I like this statement, but we are also, number one actor in NATO in terms of spending for defense. We are a country that has become very modern in terms of technology, and in that regard, we have become a very attractive partner for many countries around the world. We like working with Canadians, because we are like-minded. We, in so many ways, we think in a similar way. We are aligned politically, and we are responsible business actors. So there's already a lot of business that is happening, as has been happening in recent years, which are quite sort of new. in the game, but we are looking for number of avenues that we can develop that, and it is happening also because of the trade war between Canada and the United States. The contracts which are being signed in recent months between Poland and Canada are, I would say, spectacular.
Yeah, on the economy, you might remember our former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kind of famously said there was no business case to sell Canadian LNG to Europe. Well, when you look at what the Americans are doing, they sent 44 million tons of LNG to Europe last year. They're obviously seeing a business case for what they're producing. Is Poland interested in Canada's natural resources and LNG in particular? Is that something that you would like to see advance as these two countries get closer together?
Yeah. Well, remember, some of that LNG that is coming from United States to Europe, to Poland, is also Canadian LNG, but it's being sold for a much higher price, I would say, than when it would come from Canada. Yes, we are constantly interested. We would like the Canadian LNG market to open to Europe. We would like to see the Canadian gas flowing to the east coast on Canada, and the Canadian gas flowing in European pipelines. This is, one of the energy topics that we are working on with Canadians for a number of years. There are others which are also very significant, and we are much more successful in the other areas than gas so far. But if you're able to make a push in that regard, that will be to the benefit of Europe, and that will be to the benefit of Canada.
All right, Ambassador Gielski, nice to see you. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, kids and cubs. So some interesting things in that exchange. First, whoops. That was supposed to be stop. So yeah, interesting things in that clip, kids and cubs, because in it he's talking about the trade situation between Canada and the United States, and how this is creating opportunities for different types of trade relationships, and an emerging one here with Poland. And it seems that if I'm reading between the lines here, that when he says that the deals that are being signed between Canada and Poland are spectacular, that's that says a lot. It says a lot about the speed with which we are rerouting things. That concept they talk about in the brain. Sometimes when there's a loss of activity in a center, everything can sort of like rewire to try and get there through another route or something. I don't understand all the science of it, but it's sort of like that. It's sort of like this door closes, and then all of a sudden, whatever it is for which that door closes, there's an opportunity for it somewhere else, and it gets rerouted. And because we have all those trade agreements, right? The 51 different free trade agreements, 15, sorry, different free trade agreements covering 51 different countries. It's easier for us to be able to reroute things pretty quickly, because all of the legal architecture already exists for us to do that, because we've done that work before. So that is very interesting. To hear that, we'd probably have to do some digging to find what types of deals specifically we are talking about with Poland. But we are definitely finding some opportunity there, and we are maximizing it as much as we can, as quickly as we can. So that's good to know, because that's a lot of the work that's happening behind the scenes that doesn't necessarily get the open press. They signed this deal, we signed this deal. Sometimes we hear about them, like the deals we signed with Greenland for the molybdenum and then for extra gold. But recently there was the minister of foreign affairs, Melanie Jolie. No, she's not foreign affairs anymore, and she's international trade, I think now. Yes, uh, Melanie Jolie was in Sweden, and Anita Anand was in Finland, and then we had people in Mexico for a while, and even Danielle Smith followed in Mexico, and it seems that she didn't destroy the work that was done by the feds. So, uh, thank heavens for tender mercies. Uh, but people are spreading all over the world, right? The minister, Minister Sidhu. I can't remember what his file is, but it has also to do something with trade. No, sorry, Jolie is Minister of Industry, and Sidhu is the Minister of International Trade. He was down in Brazil talking with the Mercosur nations about strengthening that pact. So, and Anita Anand was also in the South having a talk with the ASEAN nations. So, all that work is going around like this. And, if you dig deep into the political pages, you'll see those stories and you'll read them, but they're not the ones that are being top of mind here. They're not the ones that are catching all the attention, but all that work is happening in the background, right? So we have the legal architecture for that, and then we have the team of people going out to all these places, talking things up and signing actual deals, right? Not doing what the United States says that they're doing, right? And calling those deals and just saying, this is how much we're going to tariff you. But we're actually generating business dollars that are going to be coming from other nations, dollars that are going to be circulating for any work that is done here within our economy, with that circulation effect that those dollars get in order to keep our economic activity going. So there's all this business going on in all these places. And so Poland is yet another nation with which we are going to have such business, right? We just signed another deal even with Ukraine, right, to help with the manufacturing of drones. So that will be more business going on in Canada. So there's lots of opportunities that are arising by the fact that the United States is being an unstable partner. And in this one, it seems that the ambassador is also hinting that the business case for shipping LNG off the East Coast might have changed, while reminding us that a lot of the LNG that they do buy is Canadian LNG that we are shipping south and that the United States is reselling, and probably at a much higher price, of course, given tariffs and all that kind of stuff, right? So it might be a case now that there's been some talks in terms of, self-sufficiency and having some alliances for the critical materials and well, I guess you could say materials for gas as well, uh, but energy and materials and food and critical minerals and that type of stuff that they will need, that they need another source that is reliable, as he mentioned, that we are reliable business partners. He also mentioned when he said that Canada and Poland were like-minded from which to get it, and that would be Canada in that case. And maybe what Trump is doing right now by making the U.S. less reliable makes it such that Europe doesn't want to rely on it as much for its LNG anymore, as was the case with Russia, and it had to do some rerouting for energy rather quickly. So if that is indeed the case, that the Europeans would like to eventually cancel their contracts with the United States and obtain it from us instead, that could mean that the chessboard has changed with regard to LNG and how worthwhile it might be to have an export terminal off the East Coast as well as the West Coast. Um, Quebec is always the issue on this one. From what I had been reading and hearing before, there might be more um, openness to a gas pipeline rather than an oil one. Although public opinion in Quebec has been changing, the opinion of the Bloc Québécois in particular is something that is very, very staunchly against an oil pipeline. I'm not sure how the current Parti Québécois feels about it. They're the party that seems most likely at the moment, according to public opinion polling, to form the next government. So that part I'm not familiar with. I'd have to find out more about that. But yes, there had been some talk that a gas pipeline might have a little bit more social acceptability, social license in that province. But it would still be a big job that would take a certain number of years before it could start being, exploited. Um, Off the East Coast, a lot of the ports have been expanding and they have been doing renovation work and that type of stuff in order to be able to do more shipping. And we're going to have to need that given the recent deal that we did with Mexico. If we're going to be shipping more to it, seaport to seaport and airport to airport, but if we're talking seaport to seaport specifically, in order to bypass the United States, again, selling our products to the United States and the United States then selling them to Mexico or taking some type of middleman fee for letting us cross their territory on the way. If we are removing that from our trade by shipping seaport to seaport, and that trade is going to increase, then yes, we are going to need greater seaport capacity again. So all those expansion projects, right, which is another thing that could be those are other things that could be deemed projects of national significance that could get an early stamp for work to happen while we're waiting for whatever environmental assessment that there would be on any energy corridor or pipeline. Expanding port capacity is definitely a big one that can be started quickly, and there's probably already plans for a lot of these things that are going to the early ones that are going to be initiated are things that people had been working on for several years before, and were either shovel ready or just needed an extra boost of funding or final approval to move forward. So there will definitely be some announceables. There's no need to worry about that. I just wasn't sure how quickly after whether we have to wait until like November or December to hear any, would there be any more quickly than that? And it seems that they're going to be ready to go more quickly than that. All right. Let's see. So what else with Poland here? According to the Canadian press here, Carney and Tusk said that they've agreed to work more closely in areas such as defense, aviation, cybersecurity, and clean energy. The two nations will start holding annual bilateral meetings and work to encourage industrial partnerships in those sectors. So that is a good deal. It's getting some idea of some sectors that we might be working in. Carney said the Polish partnership will drive European demand for Canadian exports and solidify Canada's defense presence in Europe. Prime Minister's office announced Monday that Canada will be the lead country at a large defense industry expo in Poland next year. So there we go. That's another opportunity to capitalize on the recent deal we made when the Prime Minister was in Brussels for the Canada-Europe Trade Summit, in which we gave ourselves access, I think it was, to $1.3 trillion in total contracts. So, yeah, being the lead country at a large defense industry expo is probably a very good development after having signed that type of deal. That news comes after Canada and Europe signed a deal. Well, there you go. That news comes after Canada and Europe signed a deal in June that opens the door for Canada to participate in the Rearm Europe program, a massive new defense spending policy by European nations, which should allow Canadian companies to bid on contracts. I really should just read ahead. Carney touted the partnership with Poland and wider cooperation with Europe as integral for meeting Canada's goals to quadruple the pace of defense spending by the end of the decade. Quote, "We learned much from the Prime Minister, from his government, including the importance of pulling our full weight in NATO," Carney told media on Monday. "It will take us a few years to reach Polish levels of commitment, but it's possible, and we've made that commitment." Poland is already closer to 5%. They're definitely over 4. Let's put it that way. Poland expects to spend close to 5% of its GDP on defense this year, well above the current NATO target of 2%. The country has rapidly increased its defense spending since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2022. I really should read ahead. That's twice now. As soon as I make an aside comment, the next line in the article has to do with what I said. I guess we think alike. Canada has never met the 2% target, but Carney said in June he intends to increase the defense budget to meet the target by the end of this fiscal year. Supporting Ukraine is part of that plan, and Carney reaffirmed Canada's resolve to back Ukraine against Russia during his visit with Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Sunday. Donald Tusk said in Polish that he felt Carney's resolve after watching the Canadian Prime Minister speak with Zelensky the day before. I understand the readiness of Canada, of Poland, and our European partners to keep helping Ukraine during the war and after the war. We will be cooperating closely in this field with Canada, he said, according to a translation provided by the Prime Minister's office. Before meeting Tusk, Carney received a demonstration from Canadian Armed Forces members stationed in Poland as part of Operation Unifier, which provides training to Ukrainian soldiers. He told assembled members that their training is, quote, essential for any future security guarantee in Ukraine. On Sunday, Carney did not rule out sending Canadian troops to Ukraine as part of a possible security guarantee to secure a peace deal in the war with Russia, but he has not clarified what that could look like. He said conversations with allies for a post-war Ukraine are still unfolding. And that defense mission that that training mission that we are cooperating with in Poland, there's at least 45,000 people that have gone through that program. So it's been something that's been very successful. At a joint news conference with Carney in Warsaw, Tusk ruled out the possibility of, as we mentioned before, Polish soldiers entering Ukraine after the war's over, but will organize logistics at the border to help the war-torn country and protect the Europe-Russia border. Defense Minister David McGuinty told reporters Monday before Carney's meeting with Tusk that the shape of Canada's role in sustaining an eventual peace in Ukraine is still up for discussion. Quote, when Prime Minister Carney was speaking, he was speaking in the context of a whole series of possibilities, and that's very difficult to prejudge. We'll see how this evolves over time, but we are hopeful that peace will come. The Prime Minister also met with Poland's newly elected President, Karol Nawrocki, before heading to Germany for a meeting with Chancellor Friedrich Merz on Tuesday. Catherine Godin, Canada's ambassador to Poland, said the strategic partnership between the nations reflects a mutual appetite for more bilateral trade, particularly as U.S. President Donald Trump wages his global tariff campaign. And she's the person of who the Polish ambassador was speaking of in pretty glowing terms in that interview. Quote, the scope of what we can do together is only growing, she told reporters in Warsaw. Frankly, the importance of Poland is growing. Now it's the fastest growing economy in Europe, so we need to take Poland into account. Poland has been one of the fastest growing economies in Europe over the past decade and has taken on increasing geopolitical importance since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Marcin Gabris, chair of Canadian Studies at the Jagiellonian University in Krakow, said Poland has, quote, very solid foundations in its relations with Canada and wants more cooperation in sectors such as nuclear technology, with both countries signing an agreement in January for projects like small modular reactors. So there we go. There's some ideas there into some of the projects deals have been signed. A 2017 trade deal between Canada and Poland has doubled trade of goods between the countries, but Gabris noted there is now a trade deficit for Canada, with Polish companies sending more goods and investment into Canada than vice versa. Quote, there are a lot of opportunities in terms of economic cooperation, he said, including in critical minerals and ties through Poland's large diaspora in Canada. Much of Canada's recent engagement with Poland has surrounded Ukraine, from Ottawa's resettlement program that brought thousands of Ukrainian women and children to Canada through Poland, to collaboration on bolstering the defense of NATO countries bordering Russia. So there you go with that. And according to the Prime Minister's office, they have a readout here that says, today the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, and the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, announced they will strengthen the Canada-Poland strategic partnership. The enhanced partnership will deepen ties across trade, defense, and energy security, investing in key sectors such as clean energy, including nuclear, critical minerals, defense, aviation, cybersecurity, and advanced technologies. And then, of course, Canada will be the lead nation of the 2026 International Defense Industry Exhibition in Kielce, I believe, Poland. This exhibition will promote Canadian innovation in defense and security technologies to international partners, attract further investment to our business, and help export Canadian solutions to international markets. In Warsaw, Prime Minister Carney also met with the President of Poland, Karol Nawrocki. The leaders reaffirmed their shared commitment to regional security and welcomed ongoing cooperation on defense, including through NATO. They discussed further cooperation to deliver greater stability, security, and prosperity for Ukraine and the rest of Europe. The Prime Minister also met with business leaders from various sectors, focusing on trade diversification with Poland and new investment opportunities in defense. During his time in Poland, the Prime Minister thanked members of the Canadian Armed Forces for their dedication and sacrifice in helping Ukraine defend itself against Russian aggression. Canada is deepening defense cooperation with our closest partners to strengthen collective security and build resilience. With allies such as Poland, we are reinforcing NATO's eastern flank, supporting Ukraine, and expanding the defense industrial base with Canadian innovation, resources, and technology. And the Prime Minister is quoted here as saying, Canada's new government is delivering on its mandate to strengthen and diversify international partnerships. The enhanced Canada-Poland strategic partnership will catalyze more European investment into Canada, create more demand for Canadian exports abroad, and reinforce Canada's defense presence in Europe for greater security, stability, and prosperity. And yes, so there we have it, kits and cubs. That's, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, there we go. Another insight into another trade deal here. While in Warsaw, the Prime Minister welcomed the announcement by L3Harris Technologies Canada, a leader in advanced defense and aerospace technology, of a new production facility based in Katowice, Poland. The facility will manufacture advanced WESCAM EOIR systems to support Poland, Ukraine, and other partners in the region, generate over $250 million in economic benefits for Canada, and support over 1,200 Canadian jobs. And there we go. And there's the data I mentioned as well. Since 2015, Canada has trained over 45,000 members of the security forces of Ukraine through Operation Unifier. And the defense industry exhibition will be taking place in September, and it will be the largest one to date, with an anticipated 30,000 visitors, over 700 exhibitors, and 60 delegations across 39 countries. So that's a lot of people with whom to do some business. So that's other things that have been taking place quietly behind the scenes. After his time in Poland, the Prime Minister did land in Germany to meet with Friedrich Merz, and this is according to Dylan Robertson and Craig Lord of the Canadian Press. Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived in Germany late Monday, looking to boost trade and defense ties with Europe's largest economy amid a 5-day trip through the continent. Carney is moving to align Canada more closely with Europe as U.S. President Donald Trump upends the global trading system. With this tariff war and Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine, heightens global security risks. And then they talk about him having been in Ukraine for Independence Day. But in Berlin, Carney will be holding meetings with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz before ending the trip by visiting Canadian troops stationed in Riga, Latvia. So then they talk about his trip in Poland here. I'm just waiting to see if they have anything else with regards to Germany, and probably not, because that's happening today. And there's not much, but there we go here. Former German politician Bernd Althusmann said the partnership between Canada and Germany is strong, but also more important and valuable than ever. In uncertain times like these, you need friends and partners, he said. And this applies from my point of view equally to Canada and Germany. Althusmann runs the Canadian office of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, a think tank funded by German federal and state governments to promote transatlantic relations and democratic values. Those ideals are under threat as Trump casts doubt on American support for the NATO military alliance and slaps tariffs on countries that are historically close U.S. partners, including Canada. Trump's return followed Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, which led to an energy crunch in Germany. The war has also had Berlin pledge a military buildup that many Germans thought unthinkable after the catastrophe of the Second World War and the end of the Cold War. Quote, "The lesson we have learned in Germany is that the world is not so peaceful as maybe every one of us had hoped," Althusmann said. Canada and Germany have been aligned on a number of fronts in recent years, including climate change and hydrogen development, but there have been a few recent bumps causing some wrinkles in the relationship. During the spring campaign, Canada was the highlight country at the Hanover Messe, the world's largest trade fair, which happens annually in Germany. It's customary for the annual partnering countries to send high-profile senior politicians to open up the fair, as President Barack Obama did in 2016. German media took notice this April when Canada sent mid-level civil servants to open the fair, with no elected officials. Following weeks of the press asking whom Canada would send. The event took place during Canada's recent election and just a few weeks after Carney was first sworn in as Prime Minister. Okay, you might get a pass for that, but that's not a good look. Canada has also not had an ambassador in Berlin since November 2023, when former BC Premier John Horgan died. Ottawa has had an interim head of mission for nearly 2 years, a length of time normally reserved for countries with strained relations. Quote, "It's not of highest importance," Althusman said. "They are such strong friends and partners, and we have such good experience between Canada and Germany in the last years." Althusman, that said, being very diplomatic here. Althusman was a state minister with the center-right Christian Democratic Union, the party of German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Ursula von der Leyen used to be a part of, before she was elected president of the European Commission. He said he knows both leaders very well and sees Carney aligning with each of the three key themes: energy, security, and trade for high-tech fields. In energy, Germany is looking to Canada to help provide affordable fuel, particularly for the country's large manufacturing sector that grappled with restrictions since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. That same year, Canada and Germany signed an agreement that was to see Canada export hydrogen to Europe starting this year. That plan has hit a few snags, including delays in getting the Canadian production going. In security, Germany sees the Arctic as a site of potential conflict, despite Berlin, Ottawa, Moscow, and Beijing all insisting they want peace in the region. "It's for us a question of peace and freedom in the next few years," Althusman said. German vessels are already doing research near Greenland on global warming and marine biology, he said. And Germany has worked with the Arctic Council since the 1990s on initiatives such as boosting work with indigenous peoples. German arms and defense manufacturers could also work with Canadian companies through a new European Union partnership. Berlin has been proposing Canada join on a project with Norway to create submarines for the three countries' naval forces. And in economic trade, Germany has long argued that the 2017 trade deal between Canada and the European Union could unleash more growth on both sides of the Atlantic. Berlin has fully ratified the trade deal and has suggested its EU peers follow suit. In February, Germany's ambassador said colleagues from other EU countries have been working to identify gaps that Canadian business could fill in Europe, and vice versa, to make up for American protectionist policies. Quote, "I still see untapped opportunities in the field of green technologies and critical raw materials, where Canada's wealth of resources and Germany's innovative strengths can have synergistic effect," Althusman said. Canada's mix of private and public expertise in cybersecurity could also help bolster Germany's resilience, Althusman said. The visit comes as Canada continues to chair the G7 after hosting the June Leaders Summit in Alberta. Ottawa is working on minister-level events that would give Ottawa and Berlin a chance to convince their American counterparts to change course on issues like industrial policy or foreign aid. Quote, "We have much to do for the next few years, and therefore such a visit is in the right time," Althusman said. "We need this strong partnership in a moment where no one really knows what will happen in the next years, especially in the U.S." And with that, just to talk a little bit more, the hydrogen deal that they're talking about, we mentioned it on the show, but just to give you a little reminder, this was in March 2025, so still under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. But we had signed a deal to send Canadian green hydrogen exports to Germany, and we're basically at that point, it was awaiting a final decision on funding and a verdict from the European regulators on whether the project had adequate competition. But they had signed the agreement in August 2022 originally. And German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, the chancellor at the time, had flown out to Newfoundland, to the west coast of Newfoundland to finalize the deal. So last July, Canada and Germany jointly had pledged $600 million to the project, Global Affairs Canada said the money was intended to, quote, help Canadian companies access German markets and, quote, ensure Germany has access to competitively priced clean energy products from Canada. So that was a little bit there. The project required a competitive auction process to allow Canadian firms to bid for the rights to supply Europe with clean hydrogen. That hydrogen would then be auctioned off to buyers, a model that's meant to drive down the cost of hydrogen because current prices of hydrogen were too high to compete with other forms of energy. So Canada and Germany had agreed to a process to help bring the price down. The auction process had been expected to launch by the end of 2024 after a European Commission review of the proposed auction parameters, but the auction had not happened yet as of March of 2025. I do not know if it has happened since. But this is a pretty important project because Germany has a hydrogen strategy specifically, and it includes a plan to replace its coal-fired plants with hydrogen over the next 15 to 20 years. And it needs to get most of that hydrogen from imports. And that's also part of their overall strategy to untangle itself from Russian energy. Green hydrogen is generally considered to be the most climate-friendly form of hydrogen fuel. It's extracted from water through electrolysis powered by renewable electricity. Several hydrogen extraction projects have been proposed for Atlantic Canada that would involve building new wind farms to generate power to produce green hydrogen. So when we were talking about the Wind West project, when we did the episode on the Eastern Energy Partnership specifically, they were looking for the 5 to 6 gigawatts that they were planning originally to help with this hydrogen export. And now they've made that project larger so that it could supply up to 27% of Canada's needs and maybe power a couple of those big data centers that seem to be one of the next waves for the emerging economy. All right. So that's a little bit about what's going on with this trip here. So we're building on these things that had been some of the work that had been done before by the government and by the previous prime minister in terms of diversifying our trade in those ways. So again, Poland and then Germany, and then on his way to Latvia after this. There'll probably be more tomorrow about the results of what has taken place in Germany. Well, I mean, more coming out this afternoon. So we'll hopefully, if there's more, we'll tell you about that tomorrow. Now, while the prime minister's out there trying to make things happen in Europe, meanwhile, back in North America, it was revealed yesterday during Power and Politics that the Minister of Finance, Dominic LeBlanc, is on his way to Washington, D.C. again to speak with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Yeah. I love doing that. So this is according to Kelly Geraldine Malone from the Canadian Press. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is set to meet with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington this week after Ottawa announced it would be lifting some retaliatory tariffs. LeBlanc's office said he will travel to the United States Capitol on Tuesday. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced, which is today. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced last Friday that Canada will drop some retaliatory tariffs on U.S. products to match American tariff exemptions for goods covered under the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement on Trade, or otherwise known as CUSMA, or as we like to say here at the Beaver Lodge, NAFTA 2. I like the NAFTA better. It's a better acronym. Canada's counter tariffs on steel, aluminium, and automobiles will remain. U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday called the decision to lift some duties nice, and the White House said it was long overdue. LeBlanc has said the retaliatory tariffs were a significant point of contention in negotiations ahead of President Donald Trump's moves to boost duties on Canada to 35% earlier this month. Those duties are not applied to goods compliant under CUSMA. The White House pointing to the flow of fentanyl and retaliatory tariffs as the reasoning behind the boosted levies. Canada imposed 25% tariffs on a long list of American goods in March, including oranges, alcohol, clothing, and shoes, motorcycles, and cosmetics. Canada's CUSMA exemption for American imports will take effect on September 1st. Ottawa's move to amend tariffs received a mixed response in Canada. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said it was a representation of Carney's, quote, capitulation and climb down, while the Canadian Federation of Independent Business called it a step in the right direction. According to the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, they had been polling their members and asked them, at current tariff rates and counter tariff rates by Canada, basically at current counter tariff rates by Canada, how long can this keep up before you will have to make a big decision, such as firing people or selling the business or just shuttering it? And 20% of its members said 6 months, and an additional 38% said that they could probably keep going for another year. So that is no wonder that they are calling it a step in the right direction. LeBlanc has said he's in constant communication with his American counterpart. He met with Letnick on numerous occasions in Washington ahead of Trump's trade deal deadline of August 1st. LeBlanc has said the goal is to negotiate a bilateral agreement that helps lessen the impact of Trump's separate tariffs: steel, aluminum, copper, lumber, and autos. Trump has appeared unwilling to change sectoral tariffs or to ease economy-wide duties, even as countries strike a deal. On Monday, Trump said America is, quote, the most respected we have ever been, while talking about how much money has come in from duties. Dropping some of Canada's counter tariffs could also ease tensions ahead of a review of the Continental Trade Pact next year. Initial negotiations are likely to begin in the coming months. There's been some talk about the United States maybe wanting to advance the date of when those talks would begin. CUSMA is critical for Canada as Trump moves to realign global trade, allowing for a majority of Canadian goods to remain tariff-free. The Trilateral Pact was negotiated during the first Trump administration to replace the North American Free Trade Agreement. The president in May said CUSMA was very effective, but also said he didn't know if it's necessary anymore. So that's one of the reasons that may have gotten people to think, maybe he's looking to get rid of that. And if he's looking to get rid of that, probably not a good idea. We might want to act to preserve that there. For those wondering a little bit how higher prices are affecting the United States, according to the Yale Budget Lab, the average American household is now paying more annually due to higher import prices and has been assessed to $1,600 to $2,000 per year more, based on the level of tariffs that were in place before Donald Trump jacked them all up for all of the world. So, and again, before stored inventories completely run out, and before some of the importers, exporters, and businesses try to eat some of them instead of imposing them all in one shot. I heard a word yesterday called sneakflation, and it seems that there might be a strategy from certain stores like Walmart, for example, where people people that are known to be on the lowest income bracket would tend to shop, and those who are at least able to afford the impact. The prices may be rising in small little increments, slowly, rather than all in one shot. Hopefully, that people not noticing them as much. But even Walmart has been noticing that they have significantly less business from the demographic that is least financially abundant. Let's put it that way, and is starting to see more business from people who are in a slightly higher economic strata. So just get some idea of how things are affecting over there. So there will be increased pressure from the state side in order to make some changes. One of the reasons, when I was mentioning near the end of the show, that when we're asking, a lot of people are saying that we're making these concessions and we're not getting anything, and we don't really know that. But we did get um, Donald Trump, according to the Minister of Finance, signing that executive order that says that the United States is committed to CUSMA. So there is that, and we can build on that. That's pretty important. And so that's not getting a lot of play, and that's where the talk that it seems that maybe what they have decided to do, again, this is just speculation, is to leave the CUSMA stuff to the CUSMA discussion because there's a review coming. And, let's remove that irritant of us now having retaliatory tariffs on CUSMA compliant products, especially now that the United States or that the president has signed an executive order committing the United States to CUSMA, and just deal with the sectoral tariffs. And if that's the case, the one on which there's the most margin for the United States to remove something would be steel and aluminum, because those are at 50%. So they could easily cut them back to 25%, and then we would have, they would have 25%, and we would still have our 25% counter tariffs on steel and aluminum, and then our trade, our counter tariffs would be pretty much balanced. At the moment, there would be no disproportion. So that could be something. So that's why people are saying keep your eyes peeled for maybe an exception for Canada and potentially Mexico on some of these sectoral tariffs that would still apply to the rest of the world, and to see if that's coming. And that could be, if something like that happens or is announced in the coming days or weeks, that would be a sign, another sign that that we are getting somewhere, and that we are getting something for what it is, and that it isn't all just one-sided. But that executive order, which definitely didn't get a lot of play in terms of the news, that is something that is definitely going to be. I'm guessing here that the Canadian team considered particularly important in this case for being able to move forward. So if that's the case, if these are concessions that each side is giving, or signs of goodwill or good faith that each side is giving, then there is some hope. Again, the fact that the president still appears to like Mark Carney and appears to still have nice things to say about him. Listen, at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter. But given that he very much is about touchy-feely and relationship kind of guy, it appears. So long as you're nice to me, I will be nice to you. The fact that he still thinks Mark Carney is nice certainly can't hurt. Not that it should matter. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. How nice the players are shouldn't matter. It's always nice that people are nice, but it shouldn't have to be a factor. All right. So let's see, what else do we have here for you? Oh yes, there was this with regard clip that I wanted to show you. It has James Moore, um, former conservative minister under Stephen Harper. And I'm going to have to make sure that I load up the correct video, because that is from a different day than the last video I showed you. So would be this one here, the secure. No, I'm wrong. All right. I'm definitely wrong here. I've got the wrong one. So I will definitely, I will find it for you, kids and cubs. Don't worry about that. There it is. instead. So it was the same one. Sorry. I'm so silly sometimes. All right. So James Moore, who was a minister in the Harper government, and I believe he did have an economic portfolio. He was the former Minister of Innovation, Science, and Industry. And he has an interesting take on it. James Moore, I like talking, I like listening to him because, yes, every now and then he's partisan, but he tries enough to not be partisan all the time. So you can actually get some good information and data and perspective from him. And this one here, he's talking about indeed how the game has changed a little bit and gives us a little bit of a reality check because, again, this is in response to a lot of the chortling about the positioning of elbows at this particular given time in the match, so to speak. But I found it particularly insightful, so I'm going to present it here for you, kids and cubs. And whoops, just make sure that I have the screen set, and I did not. That would have been very awkward. There we go. And okay, sorry for that.
And in that sort of window of blur of 45 to 60 days, rhetoric was pretty hot about elbows up and standing in solidarity. Premier Ford was saying what he was saying. All Canadians were saying what they were saying. And there was a bit of a catharsis there, a bit of a venting about energy. And it wasn't just about tariffs. It was about the president of the United States saying that Canada is not a real country. Donald Trump saying that we could be a 51st state. We'd be lucky to be a 51st state. So the pushback and the anger that existed and still exists for a lot of Canadians, it wasn't just tariff based. It was about the belligerence and the aggression that came from the White House and the way in which the president of the United States seemed to dismiss a longtime trading partner and an ally. So, we were elbows up in the beginning, and the prime minister saying dollar for dollar tariffs and all that. But at a certain point, the arithmetic of that runs out. Less than 1% of Canada's daily GDP, or sorry, less than 1% of the American daily GDP output is dependent on trade access into Canada. About 1/5 of Canada's daily GDP output is dependent on access to the United States. So the sustainability of us in a full-blown permanent trade war with the United States, it would hurt America, it would hurt Canadians as well. And then you layer on top of it the go-forward dynamic of you're going to have reciprocal tariffs on American goods coming into Canada. Well, now you're punishing Canadian consumers and you're annoying the American president. So I think we made our point. There's a place for countervailing and reciprocal tariffs in certain industries that are being treated grossly unfairly by the administration: steel, aluminum, certain food products, and those are going to be continued going forward. But the idea of getting more and more every day towards a tariff-free, mutually accessible, free market access in both economies is really an important place. So if we're marching down that path, that's a good thing for Canada.
So there you go, kids and cubs, with that one. So a bit of a reality check about where things are and what it is, how it is that you want to adjust as things go along, and having Doug Ford in the back saying, "Yeah, counter for tower and slap, sorry, dollar for dollar and slap more tariffs on them." Well, I mean, you have to understand also politically, Doug Ford is where things is the premier in the province that is getting walloped the most at the moment. So a lot of this is performative, in the sense that he wants Ontarians to think that he's fighting as hard as possible. So that catharsis that Mr. Morris is speaking about, he's giving voice to it. But it's also helpful to the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister can be sitting in the negotiating room and saying, like, "Look, Donald, man, it's like I got Doug Ford up my ass." Ow. Ow. Oh, there's a visual. Yay. Sorry. But you know what I mean. Please don't have that visual. Yeah. But I got premiers that are wanting me to punch harder. It's like, I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to hold them back. It's like, you gotta you got to give me something, dude, or else, man, I'm going to have to. They're pushing me, right? So that helps. Same thing with the business community, that there isn't unanimity about this is not a bad thing, right? You have the Canadian Federation of Independent Business going, oh God, thank God, this is a good thing. But you have representatives from the steel industry go, no, slap that extra 25% on, so to make it more likely that trade within that people in Canada make the switch to buying the Canadian steel at that point to increase our domestic capacity. So again, he can turn around and says, like these guys were telling me to pull off, but these people in this industry, man, they really want me to do it. It's like, we don't want to raise our, we don't want to raise our steel counter tariffs to 50%. We really don't. But I mean, they're making me do it, right? So all of this is leverage that can be used as well, and either to get something that we want or to resist something that they would like to impose. So the keep on all of us keeping on buying Canadian and boycotting the alcohol, even if two premiers have put it on the shelves. Canadians have been doing very good at not buying it, not going to the United States. Keeping all of that pressure up definitely matters, right? It gives the Prime Minister some backing when he's in that room. All right, is that all I've got for this? Oh yes, there was one more segment here from James Moore, and this was soon where the news was breaking on the show that Prime Minister, that the Minister of Finance would be heading to Washington, and then I believe JP Tasker, who was hosting, had asked James Moore what he thinks about that. So hopefully I've got the timing right here. And I'll put this back up on screen for you kids and cubs.
Wires, James. Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc has just arrived in Washington. There's going to be some more talks between him and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick over the next couple of days. They haven't spoken in person in quite some time. Do you read that as a sign that the retaliatory tariffs being dropped, that was welcomed by Washington, and now, hey, come on down, let's talk? Is that a positive development?
I like to think of myself as an optimistic person, but I will retreat to my line: "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." So I'm hopeful. Look, Minister LeBlanc is an experienced politician. He's obviously built good inroads with certain members of the administration. The question is whether or not Mr. Secretary Lutnick has predominant influence over the president. We don't know. But I think conversation is good. Dialogue is good. Maybe the Minister LeBlanc will tell Secretary Lutnick about what's happening in Canada and the shift that's happening and the efforts to cool things down. And I really do think that narrative about not just what's good for America, what's good for Canada, but what's good for the North American economic union that has led to more peace and prosperity and integration economically, that has led to the highest quality of life of any cohort of human beings in human history as a result of NAFTA and now CUSMA and that relationship. And trying to blow that apart by going after a particular auto mandate, for example, and trying to repatriate that down to Michigan or Kentucky or South Carolina. There's a bigger picture and a bigger dynamic at play here. And I think that we as Canadians can never tire, and also our American and Mexican allies can never tire of telling the story about the success of North America when we are united economically and facing the rest of the world and trading with the rest of the world as a unit. I think it's only positive for all of us.
All right, let's leave it there. James Moore, former Conservative Industry Minister. Thanks for coming on, sir. Nice to see you.
Pleasure was mine.
And there you have that too, kids. So as I mentioned, being less partisan and being able to acknowledge, the qualities of Mr. LeBlanc, who is, pretty well liked and very much respected. He's very, very good at building relationships. And I must issue a gentle correction on myself. I've been referring to Dominic LeBlanc as the finance minister the entire time, which he was during the election. But after the cabinet shuffle, he's Canada-U.S. trade minister. And yeah, so my bad. Not keeping up to date on all those cabinet portfolios there, but eventually they'll start to stick. All right, kits and cubs. So yes, Dominic LeBlanc out in the United States, trying to see if those trade talks can move further ahead and make some progress on the sectoral tariffs. And this is just mere days after the Prime Minister was mentioning that when he was taking off the counter tariffs, that trade talks would start to intensify. This is an example of it intensifying. So we'll see what comes out of it, but it would be nice to be able to soon have some type of announceable on reductions on certain sectoral tariffs. But that doesn't mean that that's all that's coming, because Donald Trump is still talking about more tariffs in other sectors and stuff. I think he was talking about furniture the other day. So there's always going to be a reason and something happening. Yes, Kitsasi, you need a little sheet beside the keyboard of the ministers. Yeah, after a while, I have them all, and it's not a problem. But and also because the house hasn't been sitting with question period and all that kind of stuff, and I haven't had an opportunity to. When I see them visually, it it stays with me more. But yes, but I, I know, I know that Dominic LeBlanc is not the finance minister. I know that François-Philippe Champagne is the finance minister, because we were talking yesterday about, the budget potentially coming in October, and what was in it. So I know, but it's just reflex. He was finance minister for a bit, and then it just stuck in my head. All right. Let's see what you guys have to say in the chat here. Kid Bucky saying, I just listened to yesterday's segment on Pride. I'm sorry I missed the discussion. Oh, thank you. I've gotten some good comments about that as well. I haven't taken any heat so far, which is very kind with regard to that. Yeah, it's always a touchy subject to go on. Kit Linda am saying Trump only likes Carney because he doesn't understand how Carney is running rings around him and making him look foolish. Yeah, probably, probably, because I mean, everybody knows that you have to pay the customary flattery tax, and so Mark Carney, with his diplomacy skills from his days of being a public servant, certainly. Yeah, certainly putting those to use. Kit Lindam here again. I don't think Skippy's prepared for how Carney will handle him in the House as opposed to how Trudeau did. Yeah, I think you're right there. I think you are absolutely right here. All right. Do we have anything else here from the Kits and Cubs? Okay, that is it so far today. All right, kits and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us, because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really appreciate it when you do. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like us to help you, because you are someone who's on the go, making things happen, moving and shaking, and sometimes you don't have time to watch the show right here on our YouTube channel. Well, don't worry. We are portable thanks to the generous donation from the Ray Girl, who again recently renewed her donation to keep our pod page going. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, with a hyphen between each one of those words. Or if you scan that QR code, it will bring you right there. And if you go there and click on subscribe, when we have something fresh off the audio cast or podcast bandwidth, zip right into your favorite podcast feed. We come to you. You don't even have to go looking for us. We just sit there and we wait. We wait until you're ready for us. And then you put us in your ears and take us with you. And that way you can multitask, keep abreast of what's going on in the world, and do all the things you do to make the world a little bit better. So thank you for going there and subscribing. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, well, we could definitely use some help. And you could do that by grabbing your e-surfboard and making your way down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, like 21,600 of you have. Wow, are we going to get to 22,000 soon? That would be a lot of fun. But yes, please go there, click on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Give us a little love, a little scritch behind the ears there. We like that. And it helps us with the algorithm. Kids and cubs, if you would like to help us in other ways, there are ways you can do that. For example, we incur some costs to bring this show to you, and we would definitely be grateful to receive your help. And you can do that by making a donation to the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we work to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Oh. And your beaver was rather dry this morning. So, P.S. Send money. I'm so silly. But kids and cubs, if you would indeed like to help with that, the QR code that's just about to appear right there will bring you to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. And there you can make your donation. Couple of loonies or toonies in the jar when it hits the bottom makes us feel really good. Offer your favorite beaver a cup of hot chocolate, or your favorite grizzly a mug of hot coffee, and say, "Atta beaver, atta grizzly, you've done well. Thank you so much." And we look forward to more. And we will enjoy that cup of hot chocolate and coffee, and then we will get right back to work, making sure that you get more. I can hear you crying, more, more, more. All right, kids and cubs, because democracy is something that you do. If you are in Alberta, I implore you to go to www.forever-canadian.ca and pledge some money, pledge to sign the petition, sign up to become a canvasser, go and find out where there is a pop-up signing event. You have to sign in person. You can't do this online. The law requires that all signatures be witnessed. So you have to make an effort to get out there. They've also announced that they're going to have teams coming to you if you are mobility impaired in any way. So you can go to the website and find out more information about that. I'm just going to take a check here to see my profile very quickly if I see the information about that. But yes, because that's information I would like to make known more than just saying that it's there. Um, but I will look for it, kids and cubs, so that I can hopefully read it into the show. If not today, then make sure I have it for tomorrow. But there will be a signing today at the White Court Farmers Market from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be a pop-up today from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is Alberta time at the Weaselhead Natural Area Parking. There will be one from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Value Drug Mart outside and on the street. There will be one from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at TGP, your high-level grocer. There'll be one from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Stettler Farmer Market. Let's see, who else do we have? Staples Dollarama from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Okotoks. Yeah, sorry. The one at the Value Drug Mart is in Boyle. The Weaselhead Natural Area Parking is in Calgary. Lots of events going on, stuff happening in Wainwright as well, at Peace River, Ponoka, uh, Edmonton. Yes, just go check it out, Kids and Cubs, to make sure that you sign. Mr. Lukasik and the group Forever Canadian need about 294,000 signatures, much more than that, in order to ensure that Danielle Smith can't invalidate enough of them to make it such that it doesn't count. And yeah, there you go. Um, there we go. Here it says here Strathcona County. Amazing news from incredible Forever Canadian volunteers. If you have mobility issues and wish to sign the petition, or volunteers make house calls. If you are in Strathcona County, email FC Mobile Strathcona County, all in one word. FC for Forever Canadian, Mobile Strathcona County at gmail.com, with your name, phone number, and neighborhood to request a canvasser to come to your door. Spread the word so everyone who wants to sign can do so. There you go. Uh, Again, Canadians just being helpful. That's so amazing. I love that. See, when we're talking about Canadians who make us proud, there are some Canadians who make us proud, making sure that people who are mobility impaired have an opportunity to sign by organizing on their own uh, a type of system so that people can go to them. Gotta love a country like that. You just gotta love a country like that. All right. Also, August 26th, Spruce Woods, Manitoba. Well, that's today, Kids and Cubs. There's a by-election. Make sure that you go out and vote. I believe that there are 3 candidates on the ballot. Make sure that you vote for your representative. And tomorrow we will have results for that for you. But yeah, by-election day in Spruce Woods, provincial by-election, Manitoba. So yeah, go out, vote, 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 vote. All right, Kids and Cubs. Words of wisdom. Get some sleep. That's that's all I got for you today. Not much. But Beaver update. I did get to play tennis yesterday, and I tied 6-6. So not doing so bad. The recovery's going well. I'm improving a little bit each time. But in terms of other words of wisdom, keep at it. Eventually you'll get there. There you go. Could even put that on a t-shirt. Huh. All right, kids and cubs. It could be tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, at the count of 3, could you? Oh, all right. Kit Uncover says sent you some news on trade with Canada that just came in. So I will go take a look at that while the credits are rolling, and maybe I'll have something for you when we come back. All right, kids and cubs. At the count of 3, can you say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on 1, 2, 3. I love it. You did it all together. It's so wonderful. Here you go. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, and it is indeed good news. Thank you so much, Kit Uncover, for having supplied that and in time for me to bring it in to the show, but this is according to Global News. I think it is. Nope, sorry. For some reason, the article did not open, so let's try that again. This is according to Toronto City News, and this is by Craig Lord of the Canadian Press again. So you're doing very good work covering this, and I like the Canadian Press because I like the newswires a lot. It says the title is Canada Eyes Deeper Energy Ties with Germany Through Critical Minerals Partnership. Canada has signed a critical minerals partnership with Germany that encourages the joint public financing of natural resources projects as Ottawa works to boost development and exports to Europe. Prime Minister Mark Carney said for too long, key Canadian minerals such as nickel and cobalt have gone underdeveloped, while China and Russia dominate the global critical minerals market. He said Germany has become a leader in Europe with efforts to diversify away from China and Russia. Quote, Canada can play a role in accelerating that diversification for Germany and for Europe, Carney said. These issues are only going to become more important. There's likely to be a fourfold increase in the demand for critical minerals and minerals over the course of the next decade. Carney made the comments at a joint press conference where German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, where Carney said the two countries also aim to closely cooperate in energy, including on liquefied natural gas and hydrogen energy. Nothing in the document is legally binding or binds Canada financially. It is designed to promote and encourage new cooperative efforts. Carney said there's a, quote, huge range of immediate opportunities around critical minerals and LNG. The Prime Minister said Ottawa plans to formally announce new investments in port infrastructure in the next 2 weeks. There you go. Didn't I just mention that on the show? Yeah. What do you know? In Montreal and Churchill, Manitoba, that will help exports of energy and mineral products. Both countries tapped senior bureaucrats as special envoys to advance the new mining partnership. Canada's point person will be Isabella Chan, Senior Assistant Deputy Minister for the Lands and Minerals Sector at Natural Resources Canada, while Germany appointed Matthias Kohler, its Deputy Director General of Raw Minerals Policy. When the Prime Minister met with Merz in private earlier Tuesday, the two leaders also discussed the war in Ukraine. They agreed that no decisions about the war-torn country's future should be made without Ukraine on board, the Prime Minister's office said. Well, there you go. So since we're at it, let's take a look at the Prime Minister's office to see if there is, yes, there is a readout already on the meeting with the German Chancellor. So again, since we're going to have an extended Easter egg here, and let's read that in. Today, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, met with the Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz, in Berlin, Germany. Prime Minister Carney and Chancellor Merz discussed next steps to advance the Critical Minerals Action Plan endorsed by Canada and Germany at the G7 summit this year. The Prime Minister emphasized Canada's readiness to develop and stockpile critical minerals vital for defense and technology, including the rapid development of AI. The leaders discussed the importance of diversifying trade relationships in energy supply chains, as well as the vital role that Canada can play in German critical mineral and energy supply chains. The leaders also discussed pressing global issues, underscoring ongoing work to bring long-term peace and security to Ukraine and Europe. As members of the Coalition of the Willing, they reiterated their unwavering support for Ukraine and the importance of developing robust and credible security guarantees. They welcomed close coordination with the United States on these issues. Prime Minister Carney and Chancellor Merz agreed to remain in close contact. That's the official readout from the meeting. All right, Kits and Cubs. Well, there you go. Thank you, Kit Uncover. That was very helpful indeed. And Kits and Cubs, since we're here, we're also going to say thank you to Kit Carlos for their generous expression of encouragement through our coffee page. He writes, I went shopping at Canadian Beaver to spend the points I've earned over the last months. Here, you can have the change. Kit Carlos made the joke in the discussion portion, the comment portion of the show when I was talked about coming back from my trip to Toronto and having stopped for a hot chocolate and gone to the bathroom and having one very drop of water after washing my hands in a very, very strategic part on my shorts, and then me being forced to remain seated until it dried to save myself from embarrassment, and mentioned cautioned me about the dangers of over moisturizing in in the chat, which caused a great belly laugh from my here, and I awarded the very, very, very rare 100 beaver points. So there you go. Apparently, I get the change after he went on a shopping spree at Canadian Beaver. I love you guys, kids. I love how you play along. All right, that's all for me today. Amour et bisous. Mm, and we will see you tomorrow. All right. And like that, I'm gone.